Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. I'm excited to get started with our presentation on Mega Goal 3.1. Today, we'll be exploring Unit 4, the world of TV, reading. We'll cover some key concepts about television and how it shapes our world. So let's dive in and discover more together. Today, we're going to look at how to understand and analyze TV films or documentaries, especially when it comes to identifying key information. We'll explore different question types, like true or false questions, that test your understanding of the passage. It's important to be able to find specific details within the content, so we'll focus on skills like reading carefully and distinguishing important points. We'll also look at the formula of deductive stories on TV, which helps in understanding how stories are structured. Throughout this lesson, you'll learn to answer questions accurately, read effectively, and identify main ideas, which are all crucial skills for mastering this content. Hello, everyone. Today, I want to share a little about myself. My TV show aired on Spacetoon, which is a popular channel for animated series. I am actually an anime character, not a real person, which makes me a bit special. I come from Japan, the birthplace of many famous anime. Interestingly, I am known for being involved in crime and police cases within my stories, making me quite a well-known character in that world. So, who am I? That's what we're going to explore together. Let's warm up and get into the fun of discovering my identity. So, can you name some of the most famous detectives you know? Maybe Sherlock Holmes, Poirot, or even Nancy Drew. These characters have become iconic because of their incredible ability to solve mysteries. A detective, in simple terms, is someone whose job is to figure out what has happened during a crime or in any complicated situation. They also work to find out who is involved, who the culprits are, and gather evidence to solve the case. Now you might wonder, what does the word detective actually mean? Well, it comes from the Latin word detegere, which means to uncover or to reveal. So, a detective is essentially someone who uncovers the truth hidden behind the mystery. This definition helps us understand how important detectives are in solving mysteries and bringing clarity to confusing situations, which ties into our overall theme of problem-solving and investigation. Let's take a moment to brainstorm some key elements that make up a detective story. When we think about these stories, certain components come to mind that really bring the mystery to life. For example, we often have a detective or investigator, someone who's trying to solve the case. Then, there's usually a crime or mystery that needs unraveling, like a theft or a suspicious death. We also encounter clues and red herrings. These are essential to keep the story engaging and to challenge the detective and the audience. The setting is another important piece. It creates the atmosphere and mood of the story, whether it's a dark, foggy alley or a quiet country estate. Characters are vital too. Victims, suspects, witnesses, each with their own motives and secrets. And let's not forget the resolution, the big reveal where everything comes together and the mystery is solved. By understanding these elements, we can see how each piece contributes to building a compelling detective story, and how they connect to the overall theme of storytelling and problem-solving. All right, let's take a moment to brainstorm some key elements that make up a detective story. When we think about these stories, what immediately comes to mind are the characters, the setting, the mystery itself, and the clues that drive the plot forward. These components are essential because they create the foundation of the story and keep the audience engaged. For instance, the detective character is often central, someone clever, observant, and persistent. The setting can be anywhere, from a bustling city to a quiet countryside, adding atmosphere and context. The mystery is usually a crime or a puzzle that needs solving, which hooks the audience's curiosity. And of course, clues are what the detective uses to piece everything together and reach a resolution. By identifying and understanding these elements, we can see how they work together to build a compelling detective story. Recognizing these parts helps us analyze stories more deeply and even craft our own engaging narratives. So, as we move forward, keep these key elements in mind. They're the building blocks of any good detective tale. Now, let's look at this slide. It shows a detective, which immediately makes us think of mystery and investigation. When you see this image, it's a visual cue that we're diving into stories centered around solving crimes or uncovering secrets. So what does the photo show? It's a detective, likely on the case, searching for clues. This image captures the essence of detective stories: curiosity, deduction, and the pursuit of truth. Next, we have a question. How many paragraphs are there? There are 8 paragraphs in the passage. Keeping track of these helps us understand the structure of the story or explanation that follows. Now, the slide mentions the formula behind detective stories on TV. This is really interesting because it suggests there's a pattern or a recipe that makes these stories engaging and successful on television. And what is the title of the passage? It's simply reading. This indicates that we're about to explore some written content that breaks down the key elements of detective stories. Overall, this slide is setting the stage for us to understand what makes detective stories captivating through their structure, characters, and the clues that drive the plot. It connects nicely to our broader theme of storytelling techniques and how narratives are crafted to keep us hooked. Today, we're exploring the word appealing. Now, as you can see, it's a synonym of attractive, but what does that really mean? Essentially, when we say something is appealing, we're saying it has qualities that draw our interest or make us want to pay attention. It could be a person's appearance, a product, or even an idea that resonates with us. The key point here is that appealing highlights an attraction or charm that makes something stand out positively. This concept ties into our overall theme of effective communication, because understanding how to describe something as appealing helps us better connect with others and convey our message more compellingly. Let's explore what makes detective stories so captivating and enduring. First, we have the charismatic and fearless hero, whose uncanny ability to uncover the truth keeps us hooked. This character's bravery and ingenuity make us root for them, creating a strong emotional connection. Then, there's the action and adventure. Think high-speed chases, moments of danger, and exotic settings that add excitement and keep the story dynamic. Next, we see the clever use of psychological wit and high-tech gadgets, which not only showcase intelligence, but also modernize the genre, making it more engaging. And finally, there's that comforting fact, knowing that our hero will ultimately triumph over the villain. This element of certainty provides satisfaction and reinforces the genre's appeal. Together, these aspects explain why detective stories continue to be wildly popular. They combine drama, intellect, excitement, and hope into a compelling narrative that resonates across generations. Let's talk about the TV audience and their love for detective films. They really enjoy the mystery and the non-stop suspense that these stories provide. There's something exciting about trying to solve the puzzle along with the characters. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite all this excitement, there's also a surprising element of predictability in these stories. Audiences often know what to expect, and yet they find it tremendously appealing. So why is that? Why do detective stories feel both unpredictable and predictable at the same time? It's because the familiarity of the formula offers comfort. We enjoy the process of unraveling the mystery, even if we kind of already know the general structure. This irony, where predictability adds to the appeal, is a key part of why detective stories are so enduring. It ties back to our desire for both excitement and reassurance in storytelling, which is something we see reflected in the broader themes of entertainment and human psychology. So, when we think about the hero in detective stories, what comes to mind? Usually, he's portrayed as a courageous individual with a sharp mind. This intelligence isn't just average, it's superior, allowing him to solve complex cases that others might find impossible. He's often charming and outgoing too, which helps him build relationships and gather information more easily. Now, what are the key characteristics that define this hero? It's that blend of bravery, intelligence, and charm. These traits make him not just capable, but also relatable and engaging to the audience. And of course, who is the hero in these stories? It's the detective himself. The detective embodies all these qualities: courage, intelligence, charm, making him the central figure we root for. Moving on, what do you think is the most fundamental element in a detective story? It's reading. Yes, reading is crucial because it's through reading that we uncover clues, understand motives, and piece together the mystery. It's the foundation that supports everything else in the narrative. So ultimately, the key to a compelling detective story lies in the detective's ability to read, whether that's reading people, situations, or clues. It's what drives the story forward and keeps us hooked. There are some pretty familiar stereotypes when it comes to villains. Like the cold-blooded criminals who are driven purely by greed, or the evil geniuses who always seem to be plotting some grand scheme. And of course, there are the mad scientists, often portrayed as a little unhinged but brilliant in their own way. But the question is, what kind of villains are there beyond these common stereotypes? Understanding these different types helps us see how storytelling often relies on these archetypes, but it also opens up the possibility of more complex, nuanced characters. So, as we explore this, keep in mind that villains aren't just one-dimensional. They can be a mix of traits, shaped by their motives and backgrounds, which makes them more interesting and more realistic in the context of a compelling story. Let's take a closer look at how technology has advanced in detective work. It starts with simple tools like a magnifying glass, which has been a classic symbol of investigation. But today, we use much more sophisticated methods, such as DNA analysis and electronic tracking devices. These high-tech gadgets allow detectives to gather evidence more accurately and efficiently. Now, beyond these tools, what kind of special talents do detectives need to succeed? One of the most important skills is reading. Not just reading words, but reading people, situations, and clues that aren't immediately obvious. This ability to interpret subtle details can make all the difference in solving cases. So, as we see, technology and talent go hand in modern detective work. Together, they help uncover the truth and bring justice. He uses his skills to escape and even more determined to catch the villain. What does happen to the detective if he is captured? Well, this is a crucial point because it highlights the risks and stakes involved in his pursuit. If he's caught, it could mean losing valuable time, risking his safety, or even jeopardizing the entire case. It reminds us that bravery and skill are essential, but so is awareness of the dangers. This situation also ties into the overall theme of persistence and resilience. No matter the obstacles, the detective keeps pushing forward. It's a reminder that in the pursuit of justice, sometimes the greatest challenge is facing the possibility of failure and still choosing to move forward. Now, let's brainstorm some key elements that really make a detective story engaging. First, action and danger are crucial. Think about those intense moments where characters confront threats or have to escape tricky situations. These scenes keep viewers on the edge of their seats. Next, technological devices play a big role in solving mysteries nowadays. From high-tech gadgets to clever tools, they help the detective uncover clues that wouldn't be visible otherwise. Of course, we can't forget the villain. This is often the central antagonist whose motives and actions drive the story forward. Building a compelling villain adds layers of intrigue and complexity. Speaking of intrigue, mystery is at the heart of these stories. It's what hooks the audience, making them want to piece together clues and unravel the puzzle alongside the hero. Predicting and solving the case is where the detective's skills shine. This is the satisfying culmination, putting all the pieces together and revealing the truth. And of course, the hero, whether it's a detective, an amateur sleuth, or someone unexpectedly thrown into the situation, serves as our guide through the story's twists and turns. Finally, reading plays a vital role. Whether it's the detective studying evidence or the audience following along in the story, reading immerses us in the mystery. All these elements come together to create a compelling detective story that's both thrilling and satisfying to follow. Let's take a moment to review these statements. Notice how some are marked as false and others as true. This highlights the importance of critically evaluating information rather than accepting it at face value. After reading through this, I want you to consider how these points connect to our overall theme of understanding and applying accurate information. Recognizing what's true and what's false is essential in making informed decisions and avoiding misconceptions. Keep this in mind as we move forward. Being vigilant about verifying facts is key to effective learning and responsible communication.